Hey guys, it's Zetsubou Games or Adam. Welcome back to some more Black Ops 3 Zombies. And in this video, we're going to be going over all of the Pack-a-Punch DLC weapons in Black Ops 3 Zombies. Now, if you remember, at the beginning of Black Ops 3 Zombies, I did a big video talking about all of the Pack-a-Punch weapons. And now we're going over all the DLC weapons because it was added in throughout the year. So it's going to work the same way as we did the other video. All you have to do is, if you're on PC, go ahead and click on whatever weapon you want to see Pack-a-Punched, and it will take you to that specific video where I talk about the weapon and I rate the weapon. If you're on mobile, there will be timestamps in the description, so you can go ahead and do the same thing. Click on whatever gun you want to see Pack-a-Punch. Also, guys, before you make your selection, I would really appreciate it if you guys left this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't already subscribed, make sure to do that. And other than that, enjoy the video and let me guys know in the comment section below, what is your favorite DLC weapon in Black Ops 3 Zombies? The first DLC weapon we're going to be going over is the Razorback, and this weapon is exclusive to Zetsubou no Shima. And I know I said I was going to talk about the Pack-a-Punch version of each weapon, but I do quickly want to talk about the non-PAP version of each weapon as well. So the regular Razorback is a great point weapon. You know, it does have a very high RPM. This is both for the non-PAP and the PAP version, so you do run through ammo pretty quickly. But if you have this in the early rounds, like 15 and under, it's great for kind of setting up. And since we're on Zetsubou, it does help with buying all of those doors, those expensive doors. So the Razorback is a great non-Pack-a-Punch weapon to have in the early rounds. Now, if you didn't notice already, my rating for this weapon is a 6 out of 10, and the Pack-a-Punch version, in my eyes, is very similar to the non-Pack-a-Punch version. They're both really good for getting points, and that's pretty much about it. I don't think this is a very effective weapon to have like past round 25. I found after round 25 the ammo runs out way too quickly, and by the way, you have 480 shots in total, 60 shots in the clip, which is pretty awesome, but you run out of ammo really quickly and the damage just is no longer there. But if you're interested in racking up a good amount of points up until 25, this weapon is a good weapon to use. It's a decent weapon to use. And honestly, after 25, you probably don't want to have an SMG at all, so that's totally okay. The only thing that this weapon is really good for, and any weapon is good for this in the higher rounds, is to throw dead wire or blast furnace on. But overall, guys, the Razorback is a decent SMG. It's not amazing, it's not bad, it's just okay. And the next weapon we're going to be going over are the Marshal 16s, and these weapons are also only on Zetsubou no Shima, and the Marshal 16s are probably one of the best DLC weapons, if not the best DLC weapons in Black Ops 3 Zombies. Everybody loves these things. It's one of the few good things about Zetsubou no Shima, but everybody loves these things. Everybody wanted these weapons to come back on Gorod Krovi and Revelations. Unfortunately, we never got them back, but on ZNS, these things are really damn good, and they're really fun to use as well. So my rating for the Marshals is a 8.5 out of 10. And honestly, I think my rating would change depending on what map it would be on. Now, since it's only on Zetsubou, that's why I'm giving it a higher rating, but I don't think these things would be as good on another map like Gorod Krovi or even Revelations. And the reason why I like these things so much on Zetsubou no Shima is because this weapon is literally the anti-Thrasher gun. Now, of course, the Banshii and the Haymaker, and the KRM as well, absolutely wreck the Thrasher, but the Marshals, it's like it was put on this map specifically to destroy the Thrashers, and that's what it does best. They're really powerful. From rounds 1 to 30, it melts zombies. After round 30, really not so good, but really nothing's that good after round 30. But these things, in general, they're really good. And there's really not much more to say about it than that. The only down part about this thing is, you know, it doesn't give you points. You don't really want to have this early on. But overall, guys, the Marshals, badass, awesome, use it. The next weapon we're going to be going over is the HG40, and this gun is on Zetsubou and also Gorod Krovi. I'm only going to be showing HG40 gameplay on Zetsubou since this weapon was first brought to us on Zetsubou, and Gorod has its own 4 unique weapons that's new to that map. But anyways, the HG40 is a remake of the MP40 from World at War and Black Ops 1 Zombies, and if you're a hardcore Zombies fan, you're gonna like the HG40 just because of that nostalgia from World at War and Black Ops 1. That was probably one of my favorite weapons, or point weapons, in Black Ops 1 and World at War Zombies. I absolutely loved it. Is it a point weapon here in Black Ops 3 Zombies? Not so much. It's a little more powerful in my opinion. I think the iron sights are definitely a lot better. Makes it a lot easier to get kills. Really not much recoil too, so it's pretty effective. I'm giving it a 6.5 out of a 10, which you guys probably already know. And it's a little bit better than the Razorback, but in general, it's really nothing that special. So the Pack-a-Punch HG40, let me start off by saying I love that they named it the Afterburner 2.0. It has just over 500 shots. It has 64 shots in a clip, which I'm pretty sure is the exact same thing as it was in World at War. The weapon it's good. Like I said before, it's a little bit better than the Razorback, but really it's nothing special. It's a great gun to have in the early rounds, like 25 and under, even maybe pushing 25, 26, 27, 28. No later than 30 do you want to have this weapon because it's just not going to do well. And honestly, guys, there really is not much more to say about this weapon. It's decent. It's good for point building both on Zetsubou and Gorod Krovi, but is it a weapon you want to rely on? Absolutely not. Next we have the MX Garand, and this is the last new weapon to Zetsubou no Shima, but it's also on Gorod Krovi. And the MX Garand, I'm giving this guy a 6.5 out of a 10, and I think this weapon has its advantages, but it also has its disadvantages as well. Now, what I mean by that is the MX Garand has a lot of good things going for it, but also has a couple of things going against it that doesn't make it as good as a weapon. This weapon has a lot of potential, let me say that. If there was a couple of things that they could have changed about this weapon, it could have been a really good gun here in Black Ops 3 Zombies. But first off, the non-Pack-a-Punch version of this weapon, I don't even want to mention it. I don't want to even talk about it because I already mentioned it, so it's too late. Now I have to talk about it, but the non-Pack version, I don't like it. And I think if you're going to use this weapon, make sure you Pack-a-Punch it, okay? So this gun right here reminds me a lot of the FAL from Black Ops 2. Not the Black Ops 1 FAL, but the Black Ops 2 one, because that one was actually pretty decent. And that's what the MX Garand is. It's a pretty decent semi-automatic weapon, right? And on Zetsubou no Shima, it's good. You know, if you Pack-a-Punch it, you go for headshots, killing thrashers. It does a pretty damn good job, even the higher rounds. This thing is effective. And on Gorod Krovi, the same thing. You Pack-a-Punch this thing, it's effective against the zombies. The Russian Mangler, this thing destroys it. If you're accurate with it and you hit the Russian Mangler in the head, you're going to do damage. Now, the big drawback for me with this weapon, there's really one thing, and it's the reload. And I don't understand why they did this, and it's really, really annoying. You cannot reload the weapon until you run out of ammo in your clip. And to me, that is just the most retarded thing in the world. And I don't know what they're trying to do with that little mechanic right there. It makes no sense to me. And you may think, well, Adam, that's just such a small thing. It is, but at the same time, it's a big thing. This stupid mechanic has killed me because I kind of forget. Because what I usually do in zombies is I reload all the time. Whenever I can reload, I'll reload. And there are times where I'll have like 3 shots in a clip and I won't notice because of course I can't reload, and then a good amount of zombies will come my way and then I shoot 3 shots and then all of a sudden I have to reload and I get overrun and I die. It's happened to me, and I really don't like that one little thing, but that one little thing can really screw you over in specific situations. Most of the time it's okay. but other times it can really get you. And the MX Garand is a great weapon. Of course, the damage isn't amazing, but overall, it's pretty good. Now we're going to move on to the weapons that were added into Black Ops 3 Zombies for the first time here on Gorod Krovi, and the first weapon we're going to be going over is the NX Shadowclaw, and I'm going to be giving this guy a 5 out of a 10. I kind of have to give it a low rating, and let me explain why. The NX Shadowclaw is ineffective against zombies. It does kill the zombies, but really, it's not that good. It really doesn't do anything besides revive people. But if that's what you want to do, if you want to be the team player, if you want to be the medic, this is hands down the best weapon to get for that specific purpose. And if you compared this weapon to other weapons in Call of Duty Zombies that were used to revive people, like the ballistic knife, for example, or the staffs, this is hands down the best one ever added into COD Zombies, and it's a really fun gun to use. Now sure, this weapon isn't that effective against zombies, but it's definitely one of my favorite DLC weapons here in Black Ops 3 Zombies, just because how fun these things are to use. It's literally the funnest thing in the world, and if you're playing with randoms or you're playing a game of 4 players, someone should definitely always have the NX Shadowclaws, especially if you're doing the Easter egg, because the Easter egg steps leading up to the boss fight can be a bit difficult, and you're escorting the drone or the mangler, you know, someone is probably going to down, and having this is really handy. And then in the boss fight, these things are absolutely amazing. I feel like someone absolutely needs to have the NX Shadowclaws upgraded in the boss fight. Now, the regular version of the NX Shadowclaws, of course, won't revive a player when you shoot your shot at them. The weapon has to be upgraded. That's why this upgrade is absolutely amazing. Now, I know I'm giving it a 5 out of a 10, but again, I have to do that. But overall, guys, the NX Shadowclaw might not be effective against zombies, but it's amazing for reviving players, and probably the funnest weapon to use out of all the DLC weapons added into Black Ops 3 Zombies. Next up, we have the FFAR, and this weapon is exclusive to Gorod Krovi, and my rating for this weapon is a 8.5 out of a 10. And the FFAR it's a good gun, and there's really not much to say about this weapon. The non-pack-a-punch version is a good weapon. It's what you want from an assault rifle. It does damage, it has good ammo, and it gets you points, especially in the early rounds, and that's when you're going to have the non-pack version. So that does its job, and then the pack-a-punch version is a good weapon. Like I said, there's not much to say. It does good damage, it has a good amount of ammo, the fire rate is good, and the weapon it's a good gun to have. I love this weapon here on Gorod Krovi. One other thing is this actually comes from Black Ops 1. In Black Ops 1 there was the FAMAS, and that's pretty much what this weapon is. It's definitely better here in Black Ops 3 Zombies. And I have to say, out of all the DLC weapons added onto Gorod Krovi, I think the FFAR is the best. Next up, we're going to be going over the fan favorite PPSH, and this weapon is only on Gorod Krovi, unfortunately, and my rating for this weapon is an 8 out of a 10, and the PPSH is a great, solid weapon, right? It's non-pack-a-punch, it's great for points. Pack-a-punch, it's an effective weapon. It's gonna do well in the first 30 rounds. Probably not a weapon you want to have above round 30 pack-a-punched, but it's a good weapon. It has a ton of ammo, which really helps it out. High fire rate. It's good. The thing about the PPSH, though, is I think coming into Gorod Krovi I think it was a bit overhyped. I think in World at War it was such a dominant weapon because it wasn't surrounded with other good weapons. Unlike here in Black Ops 3 and on Gorod Krovi, the PPSH is surrounded with other really good weapons, and that really wasn't the case in World at War. But overall, guys, there really isn't much to say about the PPSH. It's a great SMG with tons of ammo, does decent damage for the higher rounds, and it's an awesome, badass gun that we had back in World at War Zombies. So the last new weapon that was added to Gorod Krovi is the L4 Siege, and unfortunately, this thing is only on Gorod Krovi, and my rating for this thing is a 7 out of a 10. And I want to start off with my one negative about this weapon. I only have one. and it's that you can kill yourself really easily, especially since this weapon is exclusive to Gorod Krovi. If it was on other maps, my rating would be higher, but since it's only on Gorod, and Gorod's a pretty close quarters map, it's really easy to down yourself with this thing. If you're kind of running around the map and using this as your primary weapon, you can down yourself pretty easily. But besides that, this thing has a ton of positives. Black Ops 3 doesn't have enough rocket launchers. You have the XM53 in the box and all the maps, and then of course here you have the L4C. So it was nice having another rocket launcher added to zombies, and this thing is definitely a lot better than the XM53 because Pack-a-Punch and even non-Pack-a-Punch, you have a good amount of ammo, you have a ton of ammo in a clip, and it's effective. That's the big thing, is it really does a lot of damage. It puts in a lot of work, and it's one of the better weapons in the box on Gorod Krovi. And there's a lot of good weapons in the box, so this thing is absolutely amazing because it's so effective, and it's amazing for the Easter egg. For doing certain steps, it's really nice to have this weapon. And then for the boss fight, probably one of the best weapons in the boss fight. Throw on danger closest while in the boss fight, and you have this gun, you're good to go. Taking out Nikolai is a little bit easier, taking out the dragon is a bit easier when you have this thing, and of course, when you're rocking danger closest with this thing, you can shoot on the ground, it won't damage you, the wraps won't damage you. This weapon is perfect for this map, but at the same time, I really wish it was on more than just Gorod Krovi. So moving on to the final set of DLC weapons that was added into Black Ops 3 Zombies here on Revelations. The first weapon we're going to be going over is the Peacekeeper MK2, and my rating for this gun is a 4 out of 10, and of course, it's only on Revelations, thankfully. No, but the Peacekeeper MK2 it just isn't good, and I kind of understand why. The DLC weapons added onto Revelations, you know, a lot of them aren't really that good when you compare them to the other weapons like Gorod Krovi and even Zetsubou Shima. These weapons really aren't that good, and the Peacekeeper MK2 is definitely the worst out of the 4. It just doesn't kill zombies. Of course it does, but it's not effective, right? The non-PAP version really isn't all that good. It will kill the zombies, but really not that effectively. The fire rate is kind of slow, and you have decent ammo, and I guess it's decent for getting points, but really it's not that good. And then you have the Pack-a-Punch version, which is the exact same thing. It just isn't really that good. It's a mediocre weapon, and when you get it out of the box, it's definitely something you don't want to Pack-a-Punch, right? You'll get it, you'll use it maybe for a couple of rounds until you have enough points to buy a new weapon. So the next weapon we're going to be going over is the Banshii shotgun, and my rating for this weapon is a 6 out of 10, and of course it's only on Revelations. And this thing, I have mixed feelings about the Banshii, right? It's okay, it's a decent performing weapon. It's going to kill zombies, especially Pack-a-Punched. Don't use this thing non-Pack-a-Punched. It's not good. It's really slow and it doesn't seem all that effective. Pack-a-Punched, it's a lot better, right? It'll actually kill zombies in the higher rounds, which is really awesome. It's like almost fully automatic. I don't know if it is actually fully automatic, but if it isn't, you can shoot it really fast. You do run out of ammo pretty quick with the PAP version just because it shoots so fast, but it's a fun gun to use. The problem is, though, this is kind of considered as a shotgun, right? And when we're talking about shotguns, especially in Black Ops 3 Zombies, shotguns dominate, right? You have the Haymaker, the KRM, which is a wall buy, so you can get that whenever you want, and then you have the Brecci. 3 really good guns in Black Ops 3 Zombies, and then you have the Banshii. So why would you want to get the Banshii over those 3 guns? And the only reason I would ever get the Banshii over those guns is maybe I want to change it up and have some fun and just try something different. But if I'm actually trying to go for a higher round, or I'm trying to do the Easter egg, or I want to have a weapon to bring into the boss fight and all that stuff, I'm picking one of those 3 guns over the Banshii. So it's a decent weapon. It's different. It's nice to have fun with this gun, but other than that, it really isn't all that good. So the second to last weapon we're going to be going over is the M1927, and there's really nothing bad to say about this gun because it is what it was in Black Ops 2 Zombies, and I'm really happy about that because a lot of these weapons we see here in Black Ops 3 Zombies are a lot different from how they were in previous games like the PPSH and the FFAR and the MX Garand and the MP40, but the M1927 is pretty much the exact same thing. It's a great point weapon. It's not supposed to be crazy effective, and it's not supposed to be completely crappy. It kills zombies, it gets you a ton of points in the early rounds, and it's the best weapon for setting up. It's probably the best point gun in all of Call of Duty Zombies. It's that awesome. And when you pack-a-punch this thing, it's actually a pretty good gun. You would actually think that the pack-a-punched version of this gun wouldn't be as good since the non-pack-a-punched version, not saying the non-pack version is bad, but it's more focused towards, you know, getting more points than it is to killing zombies. But no, that's not the case. The pack-a-punched version is actually really effective, and it's a good gun to get. It's probably one of the best wall guns on Revelations just because of how effective it is at Pack-a-Punch. It kills zombies, and at the same time, it will get you a ton of points. Now, it's not a primary weapon, but it's a great secondary weapon to have on this map. So overall, guys, the M1927 is perfect. It is what it was. Last but not least, we're going to be going over to the E9 Rift, and my rating for this weapon is a 8.5 out of 10. I've actually changed my rating from when I did a video when Revelations first came out where I talked about all of the pack-a-punch weapons, and my rating in that video was an 8. Now it's an 8.5, and let me tell you why. The E9 Rift does a lot of damage, and especially in the higher rounds, like 30 plus, and I was kind of wrong with that one video I made. I mentioned that above round 30, you probably shouldn't have this weapon, and above round 30, this thing does work. I was just recently on around 50, and it's not effective, but it killed the zombies with headshots. It is actually killing the zombies, so the E9 Rift is definitely the most powerful DLC weapon on Revelations, but the thing is the fire rate. You have to have double tap 2.0 with this thing, because if you don't, the fire rate just drives me insane. And even when you do have double tap 2.0, the fire rate is still really slow. So you have really high damage, but really slow fire rate. But all that matters at the end of the day is damage. Now, this thing is great for killing zombies. Not so much for killing bosses. Of course, you can kill the Panzer and the Margot with this weapon, but it's not ideal. But overall, guys, the E9 Rift is an amazing DLC weapon.